Want to buy Bitcoin with your IRA? Don't waste your time on expensive IRA custodians. A strategy called a QRP is as easy as writing a check. Find out how. Text 44222 and type QRP book. That's one word. And get a free book that explains everything. Again, that's 44222 QRP book. One word. It's the easiest way to make Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies part of your retirement. Welcome, everybody. This is Buck Joffrey with the Consensus Network Weekly Crypto News. We're doing this a little bit earlier in the week this week because I've got some commitments later on, but there's some really interesting stuff going on in the crypto world as usual in this quick-moving world. We're going to talk about some of those things, including how Yale University is getting into the crypto world, competition for BAKKT, and how institutional buyers are on the move. So we're going to talk about all of that when we come back in a second. Now, there isn't much more exciting than cryptocurrency, but there are old-fashioned ways of creating wealth outside of Wall Street that have been used by the wealthiest families in the world for generations. And that's what my other podcast is all about. It's called Wealth Formula Podcast. Now, if you've made a lot of money in crypto and don't know what to do next, this show might actually answer a lot of those questions too. Again, it's Wealth Formula Podcast with me, Buck Joffrey. Welcome back, everybody. So today on the Weekly Crypto News, today is October 8th, 2018. The crypto market capitalization is $221 billion. Still very, very small. Of course, we know that Amazon and Apple are both trillion-dollar companies. So this is really small still. Bitcoin is trading at around $6,650 last time I looked, and I've been looking fairly frequently, hoping to buy on a dip, but it's sort of stabilized here around 65, 6,600, and it may not go down to where I'm hoping below 6,000, so I can buy a little bit more, but there's certainly a lot of news here, and so you wonder when this thing's gonna pop, and I suspect there's probably some market manipulation going on right now that is preventing it from doing so some of these big buyers can get in. So let's start with some of the big news of the week. First, I want to talk about Yale University getting into the crypto world. So if you don't think that crypto is going mainstream, Yale University is pretty mainstream, right? And apparently Yale is one of the major investors in a new $400 million digital asset fund called Paradigm. And Paradigm was created by a Coinbase co-founder along with former members of Sequoia Capital and Pantera Capital. Yale, of course, has the second largest university endowment with nearly $30 billion. It's headed by David Swenson, who's known as a trailblazer in large university endowment investing. I think the big thing here is understanding that these endowments, now Yale is a little bit different. They're a little bit more avant-garde, but expect other major universities to follow suit. Expect pension funds to follow suit. I think that they understand that they can't afford not to at this point, even if putting 1% of their assets into this type of thing, the possibility of significant gains is an asymmetric risk. So we're seeing that more and more, and Yale is leading the way. The next big story, I think this one is huge, just huge. Okay, so I've been talking about BAKKT, right? BAKKT. This is what I think is probably the biggest story that's coming up. BAKKT, of course, as a reminder, owned by the Intercontinental Exchange. The Intercontinental Exchange owns about, I think, 23 regulated markets globally, including the New York Stock Exchange. You may have heard of that. And what they are doing is they're going to be providing a platform, a regulated platform for institutional buyers, etc., to participate in digital assets. So that was a big deal, and it's going to be launched next month, apparently, at least with the first product. But in the meantime, there's already competition. The it's a company called ErisX. That's ErisX. And so what they're doing is they're planning to provide a similar crypto on-ramp to BAKKT. So like BAKKT, the intent is for ErisX to be fully regulated, and it's going to be a place where institutional buyers and large hedge funds, etc., can go buy cryptocurrencies. It's already planned trading Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin, and expects to be in operation in 2019. So this, of course, is really big news again, because again, if you think this stuff isn't going mainstream and Wall Street is not interested, well, let me tell you, some of the major partners with ErisX include TD Ameritrade. Heard of them, right? TD Ameritrade and the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Now, the Chicago Board Options Exchange, as you may recall, is one of the co-sponsors, along with Van Eck, for this ETF that a lot of people think is going to pass in 2019. So now they're behind ErisX as well. This is a big, big deal. And every day I look at this, I am more and more convinced that, man, oh man, if you do not own Bitcoin right now, you have a very significant chance of losing a great, great opportunity, because it's still a really, really good value for where this thing is headed. Finally, institutional buyers, by the way, are on the move. So it's not just that that all these things are happening, but we're seeing it happen, right? There's actual data. So Bloomberg is reporting this week that institutional investors are now bigger buyers of cryptocurrency transactions worth more than $100,000 at a time, as opposed to high net worth individuals. And that is a very recent phenomena. I also heard an interview with one of the high level representatives at Genesis Trading, which is a over the counter trading platform that I also use in purchasing, that now individuals definitely make up the minority. It's larger hedge funds, institutional groups, basically, who are buying cryptocurrency. So not only do we have, BAKKT in Yale University, and then now ErisX, we have real evidence that the institutional investors are now buying more than individuals. So if you are not convinced, I don't know what else I can possibly do to tell you that you should be interested in this. You should be watching it carefully. I'm never going to tell you to invest in anything that I don't that you don't feel comfortable with. But I will say something that I think may be controversial. But if you consider the potential upside of Bitcoin in particular right now, and you consider the downside risk, and if you adjust for all of that risk, it's hard for me to think of anything that is a better buy right now than Bitcoin. I'm talking about in anything. And I know for a guy like me, who's a real asset guy, who's like a investor, very active in the real estate space, etc., that's saying a lot, and it's going out on a limb. But hopefully you'll listen back to this in a year, or think back to this in a year and say, the guy was right. He was absolutely right. Again, this is not investment advice. I am not an investment advisor, but I am a crypto enthusiast, and I see something happening here, and I'm getting in. Hopefully you will consider it as well. By the way, if you're interested in getting in the game, go to consensusnetwork.io. We've got a great tutorial there. You don't have to know very much in order to get involved with this space. Just watch the tutorials. It'll take you through how to buy some Bitcoin on Coinbase. And if you use that link, by the way, you'll get $10 of Bitcoin free, and I will too. So it'll be a great opportunity for both of us. Anyway, that is it for me this week on the Consensus Network Weekly Crypto News. I will talk to you next week.